Hello, I'm Caitlin Reynolds. I go to West Liberty University for my master's in criminology. And before we start this presentation today, I would like to say I am sorry about the PowerPoint presentation. Technology is not being nice to me today, but I'm still going through the PowerPoint as usual just to help me. If you want, I can put the PowerPoint along in the description so you guys can have it. But the PowerPoint is on chapter 4 through 6 of Border Security, second edition by Phillips et al. That was published in 2018. And I chose to say it like I did because it was the APA citation for the textbook. This is for the class CRIM 580. And if you see me glancing at my phone, it's because I need to either look at a word or I stumble and I can't remember what the word was supposed to be, or I'm at a loss and I need to pick up, and I need to slide through another slide. So let's get started. So introducing to chapter 4. Let's just ignore those slides. Ignore the slides then. So because technology is not working for me anymore. So introducing chapter 4 then. So in the 20th century, they did not have the proper definition for immigrants, for what's illegal and legal for them to travel to the United States. So they was kind of confused at the moment. They were like, okay, I don't know what to do then. So in the 1900s, they created a classification system. And this made a clear definition of what's illegal and legal to travel to the United States. Well, this created a problem for the United States because there was an influx of immigrant families traveling to the United States. So the United States was like, whoa, we cannot have that. So they started limiting families in the United States on going to the border. So other countries saw this. So the Asian barred zone, I believe it's called the Asian Atlantic barred zone of 1917 and Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882 was inspired by this idea. The Asian barred zone of 1972 was Asia's idea of deterring individuals who was most likely individuals who was crossing into Asia who had toxic traits such as illness, prostitution, had a liking for polygamy, and anarchy to enter into their country. As Asia was struggling with their own country, we have problems of our own. Because attacks from terroristic attacks was entering our country, and we had to figure out what the problem was. So Homeland Security did a deep dive, and we found out one of our weaknesses was border security and diplomatic policies. and Homeland Security shifted their focus onto physical barriers, such as physical borders. And this shifts our focus to Canada's main border and to Mexico's border. So Mexico's border was 3,145 kilometers wide and 1,954 miles long, reaching from Texas to California, which is pretty big. And Canada was 8,893 kilometers long. This extended from 5,526, which extended from Maine to the state of Washington, which is also pretty big. And Canada is actually one of the longest international land borders that shares the same two countries, which is United States and Canada. And all of this information can be found in the book, in the textbook, which is Border Security, 2nd edition, Phelps et al., 2018. Now, two presidents, which includes President Obama and President Trump, they both share completely different forms of views on immigration as a whole. President Trump, he dismantled the classification system. He rather arrest individuals at the border to raise that number to go up, while President Obama rather identify them as an international threat and then capture them than arrest them immediately. Another thing that Obama did was he made several of acts while he was president. He made the DREAM Act, DAPA Act, and the DACA Act, and the DREAM Act. I think I already named it, but the DREAM Act. And this was all for the immigrants to achieve the American dream, so they can reach it too. And this is also, this information is also in your book also. So this reaches to Chapter 5, Maritime Border Security. So, sea lines is the most important in the United States. This has to do with the global market and the communication abilities. Now, we have been fighting to protect the sea lines for decades because it is so vital for the United States. Now, maritime lifelines. Excuse me. I thought it was the sea lines. Now, tossing that, coastlines are also important too. However, we don't know the permeability of the coastlines, so we must protect them too. So, the United States coastlines is one of the 4th largest coastlines in the world. And most of the coastlines are from the Arctic region. And it's not continuous. And this is due to the maritime traffic among the ships. And there is 2 different measurements: shorelines and coastlines. Shorelines is where the land meets the seawater. And I'll give you a hint. This has to do with subtraction, which I thought was a fun fact. Coastlines, however, has to do with the inlets, the harbors, and the bays within the country. So, now we talked about all the oceans and the coastlines and the maritime border. So, what am I missing here? The Navy. Correct. So, who created the Navy? The Congress. So, the Congress created the Navy. And you're probably wondering what started the Navy. Well, this is an interesting tale because it all started in the Revolutionary War and pirates. Yeah, I know, pirates. So, sit back, relax, and I will tell you the story. So, pirates. So they were originally called the Continental Navy. And later on in history, they ended up splitting up and being called the United States Navy. But that's further down the line. The United States Constitution ended up giving the power to Congress to maintain the United States, the Navy. And the Congress ended up making this act called the Naval Act of 1794 to end the battle of pirates with 6 frigate ships. And the pirates was due to the Barbary pirates. So, there was this one captain named Mannheim who published a strategy book in the 1890 called The Influence of Sea Power Upon History, 1600s and 1783, that influenced the U.S. naval policy. So, this strategy book is still used today. And all the nations supported his theories throughout the world. And he basically came up with this theory saying that we need to develop our weapons to catch up with mankind's weapons, basically, through time. And we need to be on our toes and keep updating our strategies and updating our weaponry for the enemies. Because you don't want to stick with the same defense. So, they ended up doing that. And with the collab of Britain, America, and I believe the French, they ended up defeating the North African region of pirates. And here comes the Coast Guards, because the Coast Guards was actually commanded to move to the Homeland Security, the Department of Homeland Security, and their main goals is to carry out the U.S. Trade laws and the tariffs that is signed by the President of the United States. So, in 1709, the Congress basically called the Coast Guards and was like, I need you to build 10 ships. And with these 10 ships, I want you to carry out the trade laws. I want you to enforce them. And I want you to enforce the trade laws, enforce the tariffs, and also prevent smuggling across the countries. So, the Coast Guards did what they did. They followed the orders. And this marks the path to one strategy, which is called the National Strategy for Maritime Security. With this strategy, it states that the U.S. needs ally support to stop future terrorists from attacking. Now, I want you to close your eyes. I know, it sounds silly, but I want you to close your eyes and picture the Earth. What do you see? You see water, right? You see the ocean. Well, 2/3 of the ocean is salt water. Well, here's the problem. The ocean is not covered by any country. It has no jurisdiction. So nobody's protecting it. You gotta think, the ocean is giving us minerals. It's giving us food. It's giving us activities. But no country is protecting it. So, this strategy says that all countries need to work together who's interested in those resources to protect it from any other threats. So I was thinking, what is a great example that constitutes this? So I'm a big Marvel fan, and a great example from this is Captain America and the great new sorry, a little tongue-tied, but Captain America, the Brave New World. So, it focuses on Japan and the United States. So, Japan and the United States, they all go to the ocean to see this mineral island. They all hold its claim on it. However, everybody wants it, either for financial gain or physical gain for it. They can never agree on it. So, with much negotiation, they finally thought it's a good idea to have a peace treaty for it. So Japan took one side of the mineral and ended up taking it to a lab. Well, the bad guys in the film, which is outside of the scope of the president, stole the mineral, and of course the United States get the blame. So the United States had to hire Captain America and Falcon to retrieve the mineral. So once retrieving the mineral, they had to basically said, okay, we got the mineral, but what's strange is the supplier wasn't there. So they realized it was a setup. Well, what it was someone outside in the purview of the president. So Captain America had to find out the intention of the president of the peace treaty. Well, little did they know, President Thaddeus Ross was taking pills under the table for his health, but was enlaced with radiation. This, with emotions and greed, he is wanting a war with Japan for the minerals. And as we know, the ocean has no jurisdiction. So there was a war against Japan's fleet due to outside influences. So that is my example of the strategy. I probably explained it really bad, but I really hope if you have the time, I hope you watch the movie, because it's really good and it really does its justice at explaining the strategy in action. So the next theory explains the definitions of, and this goes into chapter 6. Now, so contraband is described as a country prohibiting something by law to import or export. Smuggling is an item that is being carried by another country that either hasn't been paid by customs or hasn't been imported or exported due to restrictions. Anti-dumping is really interesting because it is actually an additional duty of a good that is traveled to the United States that is sold to the consumer for a very low price. The result is due to the result of the low prices is due to foreign markets having unfair practices, and the countries that has manufacturing buildings that is known for their high quality stuff, they would want to protect that. So how do you protect that company, you limit the competition. So the company will often limit the quality of that said good and knock down the price. This will undercut the foundation, and the consumer will be more attracted to the lower prices of that competition. Now, the demand in the manufacturing will be reduced. The quality of the good, however, will decrease, while the cost will be reduced, and the business will remain at a competitive level. Now, I'm going back to the past a little bit. Does anybody remember those fidget spinners? I had a blue one that I loved. I had a blue one that was Bluetooth and played music, and it lit up. Well, they were originally made by the company Fidget 360. And when they originally sold it, the main purpose was to help children and adults with ADHD. But other companies saw it as a means to make money. So they replicated the item for cheaper, and they saw it grew popularity in 2014, and they made copies of the product. The quality was much lower in value, and it was at lower prices, and children ate it up. Children ended up buying it, and sadly, it drove schools nuts. And it was a distraction towards the learning environment, where teachers and instructors had to put it away in desks due to it being a distraction. This was from the author Rashid, and it was published in 2017. Now, I'm going to say a word, and I'm going to tell you what I think about it. Now, the word is border. What I usually think of, now don't make fun of me, but I usually think of Donald Trump and his slogan, "Let's make a wall." Because a wall is some type of border, correct? Well, not always. That's not always correct. I mean, it is a type of border. But a border can be an edge of a state or a county. So, when you think of it as a term of a edge of a state, does a state always, like, does two states always have the same laws? No, right? So, when you think of border in this tense, it's two states that has an indication on what's illegal and legal between counties or states based on religious background and economic standards. This can sometimes be influenced by politics too. Now, if an individual is looking to financial benefit off of this, and what I mean by that is they are running for office, or they are already in office, and they want to, on the topic, two countries have a problem with immigration, and they want to benefit from their problem, and they want to change a law within immigration to benefit their campaign within immigration. This, and to fit their needs, this can be viewed as corrupt. And sadly, the law enforcement and the administration can be viewed as corrupt too. Now, many of countries are known to give out sanctions for political agendas and to talk a country from going out of war. So, the United States, within the 1990s, ended up giving out a sanction for the UN. Now, in the UN, in Serbia, the population in Serbia, they ended up having an economic collapse due to the population going to the neighboring countries, smuggling other goods, because they wasn't getting the goods from where they normally get, so they had to smuggle it. This resulted in their economic system collapsing. And smugglers often take advantage of that situation. And then you have your other situations like political agendas, where the United States eventually put another sanction on Iran, where they hope that Iran, who was once our ally in the World War II, to give us information on nuclear weaponry and the trucking industry. Well, I don't know if we got information out of that, but I do know that in World War II, while we were still allies, we were big on the oil and gas through them. Now moving on to the customs and the Border Protection Agency. They have offices all throughout worldwide, and they examine and identify shipments, and they ship them to their correct locations. And the qualities that you need to have in order to be an officer or an agent is a strong stomach and a strong sense of nature. Now, the staff must look into every bag that comes across them, and this includes dead or alive animals, because it's a clear violation. Now, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Veterinary Services, Fish and Wildlife Services, and Public Health Services determines the policies about imports, officers, and other illegal items. Custom officers meet different people of different ethnicities and officers around the world. That they need training and sensitivity. Other individuals will pack something of a memory of their loved one, or they will pack something of their culture. So an officer should use discretion when looking through their stuff. And not many people would know of the immigration laws on what to carry and what not to carry. And the items may represent something of their belief, cultural belief, a delicacy, or a memory of their loved ones. So sensitivity is often required. Worldwide is traffickers. Women and children are the most likely victims, due to them being vulnerable for prostitution. And above is my references. And thank you for listening.